Hello and welcome back. Today we are going to be talking about how to take our functions that we learned in the previous videos and take them a step farther. To do this, we are going to be using an example from a built-in dataset that R has. This dataset is called MT-CARS, and it is data that has been extracted from a 1974 Motor Trend US magazine. This data is in a data frame, which is a collection of observations, or rows, and variables, or columns. Data frames are much more complex than vectors because they usually contain many more rows and columns. The MT-CARS data frame is no exception. So let's first call this data frame. The way we will do this is by typing data, and then our parentheses, and then using the quotation marks, MT-CARS. You can then run this by either highlighting or putting your cursor on the line and hitting run, or just hitting Control Enter. Now we can see that our data has been loaded here into our environment. If we are to click on this in our environment, you will see that our data has 32 observations of 11 variables. What this means is that there are 32 rows and 11 columns in this data table. If we were to expand our console, we can see the beginning of this data. You can see that it is a lot more complex than the variables we have been working with up to this point. First, before we go any farther, let's describe what some of these variables are. MPG here is miles per gallon. Then we have this right here, CYL, which is the number of cylinders. DISP is the displacement in cubic inches. HP is gross horsepower. DRAT is the rear axle ratio. WT is the weight in thousands of pounds. QSEC is quarter mile time. VS is the variable signaling for the type of cylinder that it has. AM is the transmission, either automatic or manual. And gear is the number of forward gears. Down here, we also have carb, which is just an extension of this row continuing out. It has just been moved down here, and carb is number of carburetors. If you want to learn more about this dataset, you can always type MT-CARS with a question mark or in the help pane and look up more about this. There are two other ways we can look at this data because viewing it from the console can be sort of a pain sometimes. Either you can go over here and double-click this dataset and a new tab will appear that we can now look at. Or, alternatively, you can type View MT-CARS and note that when you use the View function, you do not need to use quotation marks. Run this line of code and the MT-CARS will again appear in the top here. Now we can see the type of car, its miles per gallon, cylinders, displacement, all of these things for all of these different cars. And if you look, we have 32 observations, so that will be 32 different cars and 11 columns of data for each of those cars. Another useful function that can be used when dealing with datasets is the structure function. To do this, we just type structure, and then again type your dataset. And here we don't need quotations either because our dataset is now a variable that has been called. Run this line of code and it will again appear down here in the terminal with just a more compact view, and you are able to get a sense of what your dataset looks like. This dataset is relatively small compared to other datasets that we will be working with later, so this structure function will come in handy when you want to simply get a glimpse of what your data is going to look like. In the next video, we will begin showing you how to install R packages that give you more tools to work with these large datasets.